Good afternoon, folks. In Tom Clancy's book, A Debt of Honor, he includes a detail I mentioned briefly about how an AWACS could, in theory, control the missiles being fired from a fighter, so the fighter doesn't even have to turn on its own radar. It can control them throughout the flight profile till they hit the enemy aircraft. So now that's something that was probably being talked about at the time in the mid-90s when he wrote this. It's probably something that was being considered as a possible future capability. It didn't exist at the time. Now, what it does, and at least to an extent, exists today. So I'm going to talk about that briefly. So first of all, with the AMRAAM, the AM-120, the AM-120 can actually be completely fired based upon data link information from other aircraft, from the actual shooter aircraft, and from AWACS. So technically an E-3 Sentry or some other vehicle, you can technically give the targeting data to launch an AMRAAM. So what would happen is the fighter firing the aircraft would not turn their own radar on. They would use their data link to set up a firing solution for the AMRAAM. They'd fire the AMRAAM. In mid-flight, the AWACS would be able to send mid-flight correction data, which is very important for missiles, especially in beyond visual range engagements. It would send that mid-flight correction data to the fighter, which would send it to the missile via its data link with the missile. And then, of course, when the missile gets within much closer range, kind of gets it in the basket for that radar seeker on the nose cone of the missile, that will turn on, and then that will complete terminal guidance. In the book, of course, now we've got JSDF F-15Js, which are, engaging US B-1 bombers, and later they're trying to engage F-22s. They're trying to do this with some sort of Sparrow missile, an AM-7. Now, again, I'm not sure exactly which models the Japanese would have been using, 6 or so, whenever the book is set, but likely they didn't have any capability of this sort. The very last models, the P model and maybe the M model, had the ability to fire and get mid-course corrections from other sources like AWACS, but it still required terminal guidance from the actual fighter that was shooting the missile. So you wouldn't be able to keep your radar off the entire time. So that's one of the drawbacks of semi-active radar homing missiles. So anyhow, that couldn't quite have worked as the book showed it, but now you learned something about AWACS and other missiles like the AMRAAM.